Hello.
Hi, Mario.
Did you watch yesterday's game?
I didn't see it yet.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
I
watched.
gotta watch it. I heard it was a great game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta catch up some stuff. Oh yeah. Okay.
I believe we're on 81.
80.
80, yeah.
80, 80. Okay. Sorry. Armor of Papa. Harold.
Hola.
Armor of Papa. We're on pay 80. We said that the machlokas between the Rabbon and Rabbi Eliezer is whether they hold sev afilu miktas. As long as there's a little bit of genetic seh, you count it. And Rabbi Eliezer says no. Armor of Papa. Hilkach. Le'inyan kisui adam matanos. We know that a chaya, you have to do kisui adam. A behema, you don't. By matanos is only by behemoths. So in kisui adam matanos lo mishkachas ela b'tzviya balat yosha. A deer that had relations with a female goat. That's how the koi was produced. The Bein Rabbon and Bein Rabbi Eliezer, according to both of them, misafkalu ichoshin lazer avolo. They're in debate whether the genetic component of the father is important or not. They also argue the kamiflagi b'seva filomiktaset. George, we're on pay 80 on the top. The kamiflagi b'seva filomiktaset. The chachamim hold that even if you have a little bit of seh, if one of the parents, it's considered part of that species. And Rabbi Eliezer says no. Therefore, le'inyan oso vespino mishkachaslo. When it comes to shechting the mother and the child, so bein b'tayish abolat tzviya, whether the goat had relations with the female deer, bein b'tzviya balat yasha, whether the deer had relations with the female goat, b'tayish abolat tzviya li'sura. This would say if the tayish, the male goat, had relations with a female deer, and it's a set only on the father's side, so this is now whether or not you're going to be prohibited to shech the parent and the child on the same day. The Rabbanan Savri Dilma Choshel Zera'av. The rabbis say, well, we have to worry about this, the Zera'av. And Seva Filamiksa Samrinan. And even if it's only partially a set, it'll be prohibited to shecht the mother and the child. V'asr. But Rabbi Eliezer Savi, even Hinami the Choshel Zera'av, even if you are worried about the genetic contribution of the father, but we don't hold of Seva Filamiksa Lo Amrina. So it does not apply the prohibition of Osov Espino. Continue. Bitzviya balat yashol malkas, when the deer has relations with the female goat, you get malchus if you shecht Osov Espino on the same day. Rabbanan Savrini Nami the Choshel Zera'av. They are worried about the genetic component of the father. And Seva Filamiksa Amrinan, and we do hold of Seh, even a partial Seh. Therefore, we would give Malchus, Malkinan Le. However, Rabbi Eliezer Savar, Isura Ika Malchus Leka. You're not allowed Lechatchila to shechter, but there's no Malchus. Why? Isura Ika Dilmain Choshel Zera'ah. Because maybe we don't worry about the genetic contribution of the father. And therefore, Vahas Sema Al Yahi. It's a full-fledged Seh, where there's a prohibition of Osov Espino. But Malchus Leka, because Dilma Choshel Zera, maybe we do worry about the genetic, and the Chaya component will permit, or will say that you don't give Malchus, right? The Sevafil Mitzelo Amina. He doesn't hold that even a partial genetic contribution means anything. So you can't give Malchus for that. Okay. So up until now, we've been learning that this koi is a hybrid. between a deer and a goat. But on Rav Yehuda, koi birya b'fnei atzmo, he disagrees. This is another species. We don't know which one, we don't know what it is, but it's not a hybrid. And it's v'lo yichriya b'chachamim in be'ema in chayi. It's just that the chachamim never adjudicated with clarity whether that animal is a behema or a chaya. Now that's a big thing, because a chaya you're permitted to eat the chaylev, and also there's no din of osov es beno by a chaya. So since it's a suffix, we run into all sorts of problems. However, Rav Nachman Amar koi ze elabar. There were these rams that were wild, that were found in the forest. And it's definitely a corner of Nachman, it's a chaya. And therefore, if you shecht it, for sure you have to cover the blood. And for sure you're allowed to eat the chaylev. And this whole issue that we just brought is kitanoi. Is really a machlokes tanoi. Koi ze labar. The Tanakama says the koi is this wild ram. However, Yesham Zeabam and Atashmanat Tzviya. Oh my. Bernie, I'm teaching the Daf Yomi now, but we're learning the Chemia tonight at 8:00. Good. Yeah, that's okay, good, because I'm going to be referencing it, so it's good that you have it. Okay, because Harold tried to find it and couldn't find it lately on Amazon. Oh, Magid Studies. Yeah, Magid Studies. Magid Press. Thank you.
I bought it at 613.
What, Dov Zakheim's book?
Oh, no, no,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
that's Magid Press. Magid Press is the Dov Zakheim book, if you want to get that one.
I'm sorry.
Yeshamim Ze'abam and Atashmanat Tzviya. That it's not a for sure chaya, but rather it's a hybrid. And then, of course, what it is depends on this machlokes. Do you look at the paternal genetic contribution, and do you say sev afilu mikzah sev? Okay. Now there's a third opinion. Rabbi Yossi Yomer koi beria b'fnei atzmohi. It's its own species, and we don't know what it is. The Chachamim never came to a resolution whether it was a chaya or a behem. Fourth opinion, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, no, min behemohi. So right now, the Tanakama learned it was a chaya. The second opinion was that it's a hybrid. Third opinion is a third species that we don't know what it is. And Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says, no, it's min behemohi. V'shel beis du shoy hayu magadlim en ador mador. I'm teaching Daf Yomi right now. Can I call you back? I've already gone to Mincha. Why? I did, but he didn't want to go to Mincha. He had a tutor or he was doing something. He came to davening in the morning. Goodbye. On Rav Zerem Rav Safram Rav Anuna. Hani Ize de Balak Shevis the Gabi Mizbeach. These were goats that were found in the forest, and you could offer them as a korban. Now, you can only offer a behema on the Mizbeach. You can't offer chayas. So obviously they held that this was a behema. Sover Laki Haidam Rav Yitzchak. Esser behemas mana kosa v'sula. The Torah listed, it says Zosa behema asher tochelu. Shor se ksavim v'se izim. An ox, a sheep, a goat, ayal, which is a hart, tzvi, which is a deer, yachmur, ako, dishon, Ta'o and Zamir, which we don't know what those are. And the Torah listed these kosher behemoths, and there's no others, or kosher animals, because some of them are chayos. Vahani, these goats, Ize Debala, they chew their cud, they have a split off, so they're kosher. And Midloka Choshev Lubari Chayos. The Torah didn't list them in this list of chayos. Shmamina, the Eiz Ninu, that they are behemoths, they're goats. Right? The cattle, sheep, and goats are behemoths. And the other ones we mentioned are all chayos. And this goat was not mentioned. So it must be, it falls under the category of goat. And therefore you could offer it as a korban on the Mizbeh. Maskiv Ravacha Bar Yaakov, Ve'ema Ayal Utzvi Prat. Right? The heart and the deer is a detail. And then later on it says, Kol Behema Mafresas Parsa. Any animal that has a split hoof. That's klal. So we have a prat and klal. Pratu klal. Nasa klal moisif ala prat. The generality adds to the detail. Maybe a ketuva. And maybe that means there are many other species not listed. And therefore maybe this goat from the forest is a chaya, and you can't put him on the mizbeach. Im kain kolani prati lamali. But then why did you give me 7 different details? So must be to say that the goat is a behemoth. How do you know that this forest goat is an A's? Maybe it's an Akko, which is listed as a chaya. And the other chayas that were listed, because you don't know what those are. Ravashi are Meimar Shari Tarbayu. Rav Chanan told Ravashi that a Meimar allowed you to eat the chaylev of this forest goat. Well, then it's clearly not a behem, and you clearly cannot offer it on the mizbeach. It's clearly a chayah. Boy b'nei Abba, braid Rav Minyama Barchiyam Ravuna Barchiyam. Hani Aze Debala, these forest goats, Malagabe mizbeach. Can you offer these on the mizbeach? Amarle, Ad Kam Lo Pliga Rabbi Yosef Rabbanon Ela B'Shor Abar. The wild ox, there's a machlokas, whether it's a behema or a chayah. It's not. Shor habar mina behemahu. Tanakama says this wild ox is a behema. Rabbi Yossi Omer min chayah. Rabbanan Savri mitikar minan turbala. Unkelis says this shor habar is a turbala, and therefore it's mina de behemahu, like a regular shor, like a regular ox. Rabbi Yossi Sarvi Midikol Choshev Le Bahari Chayos. Since this was listed among the list of Chayos, meaning the Chayahu, it's a Chaya. Because the Ta'o, Targum Unkla says it's this Shor Habar. Avalhani, but the Eiz de Bala, these forest goats, it's a goat. And therefore, Ravuna wants to say you can offer it on the korban. Maybe it's an akko. Maybe it's one of these other chayas. No. Amemar formally allowed you to eat the fat, the chaylev of these forest goats. Therefore, it's clearly a chaya, and you can't offer them on the mizbeh. Keitzad Hashoiche. How does it work when you slaughter the mother and the child on the same day? Our Mishnah is not going like Reb Shimon. Mimai. Midikotani, the Mishnah said like this. If you shechted kochim bachutz, let's say the mother was kochim and you shechted it outside. And then the child was shechted inside. Harishon chayv kores, because you're not allowed to shecht outside of the azara. And that one certainly you cannot eat. The second one is the second one is also can't be eaten. Ushneim soifing hasborn. You get malchus for shechting outside. You get malchus for shechting the mother and the child. Now the second one, which is kochim, okay, we're talking about shechting the mother and the child bachutz. So the first one you get kores because you shechted outside. The second one, it says you get malchus, but you don't get kores because you can't shecht that animal because its mother was shechted that day. It's a mechusar zman. So it's not fit to be offered as a korban. So that's why you don't get kores. You only get kores if otherwise the korban would be fit to offer. Now, why is our Mishnah not like Rab Shimon? Michte. Shaminale Rab Shimon de Omar, shchita she'ena re'uya lo shma shchita. If a shchita does not allow you to eat the animal, we don't even consider it a shchita. So kamo miktal katle. When you shechted the first kochim bachutz, if you killed it, you didn't shecht it. Sheni miskabel bifnimhu. So the second animal, either the parent or the child, would have been fine. Well, you didn't do shechita of the parent because it's not considered shechita according to Rabbi Shimon. You would have been able to offer it inside. Why would you only get malchus? Koris nami l'chayiv. So that part of the Mishnah clearly is not like Rabbi Shimon. Then we said in the Mishnah, if the parent and the child were both chullin, and you shechted them in the azora, we say shneim psulin. Because chullin shenishchatu azora is possible. Then the chullin that you shecht inside, you don't get malchus for. But if it's a parent and a child, the second guy would get malchus. Asheni sofik is our boy for also vespino michte. He has said that a shchita, that you can't eat the animal with that shchita, it's not even considered a shchita. So therefore, when you shechted the first chullin, kama miktal katla, you killed it. You didn't shecht it. So the shaila is, why would the second animal, would you get malchus for that? Amai sovik is our boy. You didn't do shchita or soves beno. The Gemara is going to continue to ask kashas. Kochim bifnim. You had a parent and a child, both were kochim. And you shechted both of them inside. So the first one is kosher. It's regular kochim. Upotter. And of course, there's no malchus. You didn't do anything wrong. But the sheni sofik is sarboin. The second one gets malchus. Uposel. But you can't eat. Because it's chullin shenishchatu, it's kochim bifnim, it's also vespino. Michte. Shamin Rab Shimon Domer shchita she'enu lo shma shchita. A shchita that you can't eat from is not considered a shchita. So shchita's kochim nami shchita she'enu ruhi. So listen to this. This is an unusual concept. Kochim, you can't just eat a kochim animal with shchita alone. You need to do zrika sadam. So according to Rab Shimon, anytime you shech kochim, it's a shchita she'en ruya. The kama de lozark dal no mystery basar. Without the Zrika Saddam, you can't eat the meat. So the Shenia might serve as our boy Mupasul. Why does that Mushna rule that the second guy gets Malkas? The first Shchita is not a Shchita. And the second Shchita is also not a Shchita. Because it doesn't allow you to eat the animal. So Shema Mina do lo Reb Shimon. So it's clear that our Mishnah is not like Reb Shimon. So Pshita Techiyis, so what? It's Dover Pashut. Shchitas Kotchim Itzrachale. Yeah, but this Chiddush of Shchitas Kotchim is a Chiddush. I wouldn't have thought that just because you needed Zrika Saddam, you wouldn't consider shechting a Kotchim not a proper Shchita. If you tore out the pipes rather than cut them and did Zrika Saddam, you wouldn't be able to eat it. Yet v'chishachat mystery basar, but by shechting it and then doing this, so the shechita is accomplishing something, and therefore I would have thought shechita re'uyahi. It is a shechita re'uyah. Kamash Malan, that Rav Oshai is telling us that it's not considered a shechita.
Yeah, it's a very hard concept because if you shech the mother or the mother and the child, right, or the father and the child, so the causation from shechting the kotshim of the first one causes the second one. So that one causes another. They both have a half talia. You can't have one with the other.
Reb Shimon holds that the first one is not a shechita.
No, I know, I hear that.
And therefore, you can't be over shechita o soves beno because you didn't shechita the first one. That's Reb Shimon. That's why our Mishnah says you are chayiv. So that's why they fit with Reb Shimon. Only Rav Shimon holds that a shchita considered shchita sheina ruya.
Why aren't you chayiv? So you chayiv on both of them?
No, you're not chayiv for the second one of Osov Espino because you didn't really shech the first one. You basically killed it. Why? Because Rav Shimon holds that only a shchita which permits you to eat the animal directly without any other thing to do is considered a shchita. Since by Kotshim, you need to do Zrika Saddam besides the Shchita, you can't call it a Shchita. That's Reb Shimon. Freak the Gemara that when the Mishnah said that if you had a parent and a child who were Kotshim, and you slaughtered them in the Azora, the second one would get malchus. It's not like Reb Shimon, because the first shchita is a shchita ru'uya. And then when you do the shchita of the second one, you also get malchus. But the Gemara now wants to know, why aren't you going to get another malchus? Lilki nami mishum lav de mechusar zman. The Torah says, Bayom hashmini yerael lekorbani shel Hashem. You may not bring a korban before its time. It's got to be at least 8 days old. Now, even if these animals are 3 months old or a year old, once you shech the parent, for that day, it's a mechusar zman. You have to wait till tomorrow. There's a lav if you shech the korban not on its proper time. So when you shech the child, besides getting the malchus for osoves beno, you should get it for being shechting a mechusar zman, the Tanya. Unfit animals, like if it was castrated, if it had various defects, that you may not shech them. Talmud Lomer v'shor v'sesh saru of a kalut is not acceptable. Now, a mechusar zman is another one of these defects. So the Mishnah should have said you get 2 sets of malchus, not 40 are born, but 80. So the Gemara answers simply, Ki kachoshev lav de oisav espino. Our Mishnah is dealing with this lav of oisav espino. No, but enachanami, you would get 2 sets. Lav nuchroi lo kachoshev. This separate lav, it's not dealing with. The Gemara says, what do you mean velo? V'akachim b'chutz, where you get kares, the lav nuchroinin, that's a separate iser, v'kachashit, diktani, kachim b'chutz, harishon chayiv kares. It's a different punishment, a different lav. Ushneim soifkin esarboim. Bishma sheni mishum lav de oiser vesbeno. The second one, Malchus, is lav osa beno. El harishon amai soifig. It's lav mishum lav de shchutei chutz. It's because you shecht it outside. And for the Gemara kolech the leka lav de osa vesbeno, choshev lav nuchroi. If there is no osa vesbeno, and when you shecht the mother, there's no vesbeno, then it'll bring in the other isurim. But if the second one has osovas beno, it won't calculate the other lavim. And the Rav Zera will give a different answer, which we'll wait for tomorrow. Okay. Nehemiah tonight, 8 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
You.